are there any things you completely stay away from? Out of curiosity.
Um, I've pretty much removed alcohol from my life, and I know for some people that's kind of
Interesting.
a that's I know for some people it's kind of a hot topic. I know I sometimes when I have workshops and I start talking about alcohol, I can see some people go like, "Okay, don't want to hear this, not for me." Um, but as a woman in midlife or in menopause, like alcohol is just not good for you. Any kind of symptoms that women might have, it will just make it so much worse. And for me, it was actually 2017. Now, I have to be fair. My husband was the one who first stopped, and he works in finance, and at the time, networking, socializing is still a big thing, and there was a lot of alcohol involved. And then for him, on a personal level, he just felt that alcohol was not good in his life. And he had listened to this book called one of the Alan Carr books. I don't know if you're familiar with Alan Carr. It's kind of it's neuro-linguistic programming. His first book was about giving up smoking, but they've moved it into all different directions. And this book was about how to how to stop drinking or how to control alcohol. And my husband listened to the book, and I could see. I mean, he's Irish, and you could say it's in their culture with alcohol, even though it is actually it's everybody's. It's the culture everywhere. But he was from one day to the other. He had no interest in alcohol anymore, and it wasn't a case of I'm never allowed to drink it again. I just don't want it. I'm just not interested. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And I was kind of intrigued how an audiobook of 8 hours could have that kind of effect. But also, I was in my mid late 40s, and I had realized that when we'd had some drinks at the weekend, I felt like crap the next day. And I also didn't like the person I was becoming when I'd had a few drinks. I just didn't feel like myself. And so I listened to the book as well, and it kind of had the same effect on me that I just didn't want alcohol anymore. And I very rarely have a drink. I might have something on a birthday, I might have a glass of champagne, or on whatever Christmas Day or on New Year's Eve. But the rest of the year, I'm just like, I just don't want it. And if I could give anybody that advice, then it is to really question what role alcohol plays in your life and how important is it really.
So what was the thing that was the straw on the camel's back for you? Was it just the like you didn't like the person, or like that you were becoming, or that you were when you were drinking, like you said, or was there like a line in the book, or was there like an example in the book that kind of spoke to you or spoke to your husband? I'd love to know.
No, for me, I think deep down inside, I was already kind of starting to become more interested in fitness. And I already realized, okay, at the time I wasn't, I was going to the gym to do classes. And obviously you had to sign up before, you had to book yourself in. And I'd realized, okay, well, if I'd had a night out, then I wasn't feeling great the next morning, and I was far less likely to actually do the class. And it was kind of, when you're at the turning point or the crossroads, and you think, okay, what's more important? Is it the socializing and the drinking, or is it the going for my workout? What actually makes me feel better? And I think internally, I already knew that actually the working out and looking after myself makes me feel better. So I just had to take this step then to try it out without alcohol. And it's not easy at the start. It's your social life changes completely. Your circle of friends can change completely, because suddenly the people that you were hanging out with before, they don't really like you hanging around and not drinking alcohol, because in a way, and it doesn't really matter, because it doesn't matter to me what other people think. It just puts a mirror in front of their own behavior, and so people get uncomfortable with it.
So were there any uncomfortable conversations or friends that had to be cut? Like, because I coach people, I know people and have known people that went through and are going through a similar thing. They have this friend circle that they love, it's their best mates, it's their colleagues, they've had all these shared memories. But then they have this new body transformation or fitness goal that they want to pursue, or just this better self. Not saying that alcohol is the ultimate destroyer of, an improved
Mm,
self, but it can get in the way of the person that you want to become that's probably healthier, that probably has a bit more muscle and less fat, and can have more energy on days where they maybe don't when they are hungover. So, like, what what was that process like of trying to be like, hey guys, I'm gonna start going this way?
It kind of happened gradually, and there weren't any specific conversations around it, but it yeah, it happens gradually that you just go. You're not going to the end to the night outs anymore. And I think my husband actually had an experience where he was literally removed from a WhatsApp group because they thought, well, he's just not. He just can't be. And he just, he actually thought. I mean, obviously, in the moment, it's like, what the hell? But actually, it's interesting because looking back, that some of the other people have also stopped drinking alcohol and have changed their life, and maybe we were just the first ones to do it. But it's a really interesting concept, and we talk about people sometimes not doing things because they have a fear of failure, but you can also have a fear of success. You know, what happens when I turn into this person that I want to become? And people can be afraid of that, so that they're actually not doing it because they're if you tell people, well, if you start looking after your health and your fitness and all that, your life is probably going to change or could potentially change completely. And it's a good conversation to have as a coach as well with your clients. What could that potentially mean? To prepare them for that. Potentially it could mean that this particular friend that I'm having and that I'm seeing for nights out every weekend, maybe I might not spend that much time with that person anymore. It's not because I don't like the person, but it's just because this is important to me and I want to achieve this goal. So, it's not always the fear of failure. Sometimes it's the fear of success that holds us back from doing something.
Interesting. Yeah, I've had a relationship with alcohol that has pretty much been non-existent my
Yeah.
entire life. I kind of grew up around it in an environment where I saw a lot of alcoholism and like a lot of drunk people doing stupid things and just kind of like not feeling great. So I just decided really early on, like probably like 14, where I was like, that's probably not what I'm going to do. So I've always had a kind of circle that doesn't drink.
Yeah.
And I've found that, and I can't say that, oh, like I haven't walked the life of someone who does drink or occasionally drinks or whatever, because I'm kind of like just all or nothing in some ways. And especially with kind of like I found times where I have drunk where I just like drop it straight away. Like it just get like I just drink it really fast and just put it down. Like I feel like if I did, it would just it probably wouldn't be that good. I'd probably just get drunk really fast. But I kind of ended up creating a life, and maybe it's the lifestyle that I live. Like obviously I work in fitness and have always been around sport, but like not really any of my friends drink, and I feel
Yeah.
like it'd be a nice word of encouragement. And obviously, I haven't had the life of someone that drinks, but I feel like you do kind of attract people that just get into the stuff that that you're into. Like you go to the gym,
Absolutely.
and you might talk to someone between sets. Maybe that becomes your best mate, or maybe that's just someone you see at the gym, but you kind of talk, and then you are kind of surrounded by these people that do similar things. And I feel like that can be an encouragement for people that are scared of it. Like, you do go to new places. You do, because if you're not going out and being social, you are going to do something else. And I
Yeah.
think, what you replace that with can be another opportunity to meet friends or to, I don't know, if you're like, I kind of want to stop drinking out because I want to take my career further. That gives you that extra time, like that extra half day on Sunday when you don't feel like shit on the couch. You can spend that building a side hustle or whatever you want to do. I feel like it's like people just think, oh, it's just going to be my life minus all the fun. But it
Yeah.
can be, that could potentially be subtracted, but you do have the other potential to add in other things as well.
Yeah, I mean, people. It's exactly what you're saying. People fear that there's something taken away from their life, but I can only always say to people, this. I have not spoken to a single person who has stopped drinking alcohol and who's regretting it, who's now saying, oh, I feel there's something missing in my life. No, everybody will say, the relationships have become a lot more honest. Conversations have become a lot more deeper. Now, for some people, that can be scary. Maybe they don't want to have these kind of conversations, but it just happens naturally. For us, kind of what happened as well is that we moved from an area that was quite rural to this sort of seaside town where we are now. It's just 20 kilometers away, but it's it's a totally different lifestyle where we live now. People go swimming in the Irish Sea at 6 o'clock in the morning,
That must
winter.
be freezing.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
But like sea swimming is a big thing, and there's so many people out walking and walking with their dogs. So suddenly we were in a totally different environment where this behavior was normal. Whereas where we lived before, it was more about going out at the weekends and going into town and having nice dinners and all this kind of. So obviously, being in a different environment really really helps. And yeah, people have this idea. Well, I can't socialize. I can't have fun if I'm not drinking alcohol. And it's just, I mean, the book that I listened to at the time. It's just the method they use is they basically show you that these ideas and beliefs that you've had for years, in society, it is a big belief that you need to have alcohol in order to have fun, and it actually takes you out of that box and takes you out of and tells you to actually look at this differently. It is like a poison. I know people don't want to hear it, but it is. You're slowly poisoning your body, and you don't need this in order to have fun or to socialize. You are perfectly capable of doing this without it. And it's just a case of trying it out. There are far more non-alcoholic drinks now around. I mean, I think it's fantastic that you had this, when you grew up, that you were or you automatically started to surround yourself with people who weren't drinking. Whereas what I've seen mostly is that people grow up, especially teenagers, it's about drinking and drinking as much as possible in as short amount of time as possible. And that starts, and I could see it in my son's environment, like school parties and all that. It starts at when they're 15, 16.
Yeah, it
And
does.
it's really scary because the earlier kids are introduced to alcohol, the more likely they are to develop problems later on. So, if you can keep it away for as long as possible, then the better. So it's a big shift for people suddenly not to drink anymore.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there because I played rugby. I'm from New Zealand, so the drinking culture is pretty strong, and especially when you play rugby and you're in a group of boys.
Yeah,
But yeah, I remember vividly. I was in a team that was maybe we were under 16s, under 15s, and I still remember the party because I wasn't that drunk. Like I had a drink or so, and I hated the taste of beer. My dad would be like, have a taste, and I'd be like, that's disgusting. I don't know why people are drinking this. And then my mum would give me some wine, and I was like, that is disgusting too. I was like, I don't know what. So I ended up liking like the most like female drink ever. Apparently, was like Bailey's and milk because that's what my mum had. So, so I really loved Bailey's and milk, which is like apparently like a real, like a real woman's drink. But I was like, whatever. But I was like going to these parties, and because I didn't really drink that much and I hated it, and no one ever had Bailey's, and I wasn't going to go buy my own because well, first of all, I was too young, but second of all, I didn't really care for it too much. I just saw them getting absolutely smashed,
yeah,
and I was like, and then I'd see them at school, and that they're all telling their stories and all that kind of stuff. But because I wasn't really indulged in it, I just began to kind of see the ugly sides of it. And I kind of took life very seriously early. I kind of lost my mum at a young age. So I think I developed this kind of like very, I'm going to make the most of my life and not do stupid shit. So I just kind of grew up a bit serious. So when I saw that, I was like, I don't really want to do that. But yeah, it's very hard. And like to kind of step out of it though, because the people
yeah.
that were in it were just every weekend rugby drinks, and then rugby drinks is like every week they were like stuck in that loop. And it's interesting also what you said around the relationships getting deeper, because even though I haven't really drunk too much, when people around me were drunk and they were telling me stuff and they were really opening up like they never would when they were sober, it kind of infuriated me as I got
Mm,
older, because I was like, why don't you tell me this when you're sober?
yeah,
I know that's a pretty, like, it sounds like it's coming from an angry spot, but it did kind of make me really angry though, because, like if you're both drunk and you're saying you love each other and all that kind of stuff, that's fine, whatever, you're having a good time. But I found that when I was sober, and I was probably young too, coming up, and obviously I had a bit of an emotional upbringing with my mum's passing. When people said stuff that they thought was nice, I kind of took it the other way, and I was like, this is more in my face as a bad thing because you're only saying this when you're drunk, and
yeah,
it was more hurtful than anything else.
yeah. I'm very sorry that you lost your mom early. I lost my dad very early, so I can totally relate to that. But the thing is that we as humans we want to belong to a tribe. So teenagers, they don't want to be the odd one out. I mean, and it's rare that you actually very early on decide or realize that I don't want to be part of that. But in general, we want to be part of the tribe and we want to belong to that group. So we're doing it, even though none of us like the taste of alcohol.
Yeah, I've never really come around. I still hate it. I don't get it. But
It's
anyway,
like
I don't.
it's like smoking. I mean, I was a smoker as a teenager,
Okay.
and then in my early 20s. Why would you do that? I mean, it's disgusting. But again, your nervous system knows the outcome. I know it knows that you've done this plenty of time. It's safe, so you keep doing it, unless you actually actively work on stepping out of that box and seeing life from a different point of view.
Yeah, for sure.